The galaxy was never silent. Stars burned, planets turned, and countless voices filled the endless dark. Yet sometimes, through all that noise, one voice could rise above everything else. One desperate cry could travel far, crossing light years, piercing through space like a knife. That was what happened on a forgotten edge of the Orion Arm. A small alien world, green seas, silver skies, and cities built like glass towers, was under attack. Their enemy came without warning. Ships black as night, armed with fire and death, descended upon them. They were called the Kroln, a warrior race, known for burning colonies, enslaving survivors, and leaving nothing behind but ashes. The peaceful aliens had no defense. Their weapons were too weak, their fleets too small. For centuries, they had lived in peace, believing war was only a story of the past. Now, as their towers burned and their skies filled with smoke, they sent out one last message. It was not a message of pride. It was not a message of strength. It was a cry, a desperate call into the void. Please, is anyone out there? We are dying. We need help. The signal raced across the stars, repeating over and over. It was not meant for a single race. It was not meant for a single friend. It was meant for anyone who could hear. Anyone with a heart strong enough to answer. Days passed. Then weeks. Their people fought to survive, but every day more of them fell. They had started to believe no one would come. That their voices were too small. That no one in the endless galaxy cared. But then, something answered. At first, it was only a whisper on the edge of their sensors. A strange echo. Not the warm voice of a neighbor, not the promise of gentle aid. It was the sound of engines. Heavy, deep, and endless. The alien scientists checked their machines again and again. What they saw made no sense. A fleet was coming. Dozens of ships, maybe more. But these were not the sleek, elegant ships of diplomats. They were not the shining vessels of merchants. These ships were monsters. Each one was scarred from battle, metal plates welded over wounds like broken armor. Some carried marks, symbols of skulls, wings of fire, words written in a language the aliens did not know. Their shapes were sharp, brutal, designed for nothing but war. The aliens stared at the images with fear. Their cry for help was answered, yes. But by what? When the fleet came closer, the aliens' hearts sank. The ships looked like a nightmare, like something that crawled out of the abyss itself. They did not glide. They marched. They did not shine with grace. They burned with fury. The alien leaders gathered in their council chamber, voices trembling. Who are they? One asked. Are these more invaders? Whispered another. Have we called another enemy upon ourselves? No one could answer. The fleet slowed as it reached orbit. The alien world below was still burning, cities destroyed, people screaming. The invaders, the Kroln, still swarmed across the skies, proud and unchallenged. And then, the dark fleet spoke. A voice filled the comms. It was rough, cold, and carried the weight of old wounds. The aliens did not know the language, but the fleet had prepared. The words came through in translation, each one like a hammer striking iron. We heard your call. Stand back. That was all. Nothing more. The aliens stared at each other. The room went silent. Their hearts pounded in their chests. Who were these strangers? Why had they come? One young alien, watching the burning sky from the council tower, whispered the question that sat in every mind. Are they here to save us, or destroy us too? The answer would come soon enough. Above their world, the fleet from hell began to move. The signal crossed the stars for weeks. It passed through dust clouds, over barren planets, and between burning suns. Most who might have heard it were silent. Some ignored it. Others did not care. But one species did not ignore it. Humanity. On Earth, the homeworld of the Deathworlders, machines hidden deep under oceans and buried inside mountains caught the signal. They recorded it, translated it, and sent it upward through chains of command. Soon, men and women in steel rooms listened to the simple words, "Help us! Save us! Please!" At first, the human officers were silent. Their faces showed no pity, no joy. They did not debate. They did not hesitate. One of them simply said, "Prepare the Armada." And across the stars, humanity began to move. From hidden bases, ships rose like shadows. From colonies built on frozen moons, fleets launched into the void. From great stations orbiting Earth itself, the pride of the Deathworld Armada gathered. They were not ships of mercy. They were not painted in colors of peace. Their hulls were black steel, their cannons heavy, their engines bright enough to blind. Each vessel carried the soul of Earth's struggle. Each one was built from lessons written in blood, forged by a people who had survived on the harshest world known. To the outside galaxy, Earth was a place of nightmares. Its storms, its beasts, its diseases, everything was hostile. But to humans, Earth was home. They had learned long ago that survival required strength. Strength without mercy. Strength without hesitation. Now, that strength moved as one. The Armada stretched for miles across the stars, a storm of warships that darkened the void. Fighters swarmed between carriers. Destroyers glided beside massive dreadnoughts. The largest ships, fortresses in space, carried weapons strong enough to split moons. The alien plea had been heard. And this was humanity's answer. The survivors, still drifting among the ruins of their fleet, saw the first signs of light. At first, they thought it was a trick. A dying star. A hallucination. But then the light grew stronger. Dozens of points. Hundreds. Engines. The crew of the last alien ship rushed to the viewports. Their tired eyes widened. Hope and fear battled inside them. Had their enemies found them again? Or was this salvation? The commander stared into the growing storm of light. His heart pounded in his chest. Slowly, shapes emerged, vast ships sliding from the dark like predators. Their size dwarfed the broken alien vessels. Their formation was perfect, not a single gap, not a single mistake. The commander whispered, Who are they?" No answer came. The human armada did not send greetings. They did not reply to the plea. Their ships were silent, their weapons hot, their scanners searching every corner of the battlefield. To the aliens, it was terrifying. To humanity, it was natural. Where others might send words, humans sent silence. Where others might hesitate, humans prepared for war. To them, mercy was survival, and survival demanded readiness. The alien crew tried to hail the newcomers. Their weak voices echoed across comms. "This is the last ship of our people. We sent the plea. We beg you, please answer. Please, help us." But no voice returned. The human armada moved with cold precision. Their smaller ships darted ahead, scanning wreckage, mapping debris, analyzing the remains of the enemy fleet. Larger ships held position, their weapons aimed not at the survivors, but at the void around them. It was clear. The humans did not trust. Not yet. The alien commander felt his hope flicker. Were these saviors? Or executioners? One of his officers whispered, "They look like monsters." The commander said nothing. He could not deny it. The ships were enormous, angular, built for war. Their weapons glowed faint red, like embers ready to burst into fire. No banners of peace. No symbols of compassion. Only death. Yet, as the alien crew stared, they also felt something else. A strange sense of protection. A storm had arrived, and though it terrified them, it was aimed outward, not inward. The armada spread across the battlefield like hunters preparing for the kill. Silent, watchful, unstoppable. The commander gripped the edge of his console. His voice trembled. "If these are the ones who heard us, then the galaxy has lied. For they are not saviors. They are death itself." The survivors could only wait. And in the cold silence, the Armada continued its slow, steady advance. Humanity had arrived. The silence was heavy. The alien crew held their breath as the human Armada spread across the void. The black warships were countless, a moving wall of steel and firepower. Not a single one drifted out of formation. They moved like predators, each step calculated, each shift precise. The survivors tried again. Their comms officer sent another message, voice shaking. "This is the last vessel of our people. We are unarmed. We are survivors. Please, we beg for help." Only static returned. The humans did not answer. Instead, their ships lit with activity. Energy beams scanned the wreckage, breaking apart the silence with bright lines of light. They swept across broken enemy hulls, dissected destroyed weapons, and measured every fragment of debris. It was not curiosity. It was calculation. The alien commander watched with unease. His heart thudded in his chest as he realized the truth. The humans were not here to offer comfort. They were studying. They were hunting. They were preparing for war, as if the enemy might return at any moment. One of his officers whispered, "Why do they not speak? Why do they not answer?" The commander did not know. The alien ship trembled. Not from damage, but from fear. The crew could feel it. The Armada's presence pressed against them like a weight. Each human ship carried an aura of menace, the kind only born from centuries of survival on a hostile world. Then, for the first time, a human vessel moved closer. It was massive, larger than any ship the aliens had ever seen. Its hull was dark and scarred, covered with weapons. It glided forward with silent grace, its engines burning like suns. It stopped just outside the alien ship's range, towering over them like a predator staring at wounded prey. The alien crew froze. Every eye locked on the monstrous silhouette. "Are they going to fire?" one whispered. The commander clenched his fists. "Hold steady." Minutes passed. The human ship did nothing. No comms. No greetings. Just silence. The tension grew unbearable. Then, lights flickered across the battlefield. More human ships began to move, slow, steady, purposeful. They circled the ruins, surrounding the survivors without a single word. It was not a blockade. It was a cage. The aliens panicked. Their comms officer shouted into the void, "Please, we are not your enemy. We asked for help, not war." Still nothing. The commander's heart sank. He understood now. To the humans, words meant nothing. Trust was nothing. Only survival mattered. And yet, he also understood something else. The humans were not pointing their weapons at the survivors. Every cannon, every railgun, every missile battery, all were aimed outward into the void. The Armada was not preparing to kill them. The Armada was preparing to protect them. The enemy was gone. Their fleets had been destroyed. But the humans acted as if danger still lingered, as if every shadow hid a threat. They were predators, yes. Ruthless, cold, merciless. But their claws were not raised against the weak. They were raised against those who might harm the weak. Suddenly, the comms crackled. A voice. It was deep, calm, and without warmth. "Identify yourselves." The alien crew gasped. After hours of silence, after endless dread, the humans had finally spoken. The commander stepped forward. His voice trembled, but he forced strength into it. "We are the last survivors of the Kalan people. Our home is gone. Our fleets destroyed. We sent the signal. We begged for help." There was a long pause. Then the human voice replied. "Transmission received." The channel cut. The crew exchanged fearful glances. That was all? No comfort, no promise of safety, no pledge of aid, just acknowledgement. The commander gritted his teeth. He wanted to demand more, to beg, to cry. But something stopped him. The weight in the human's voice. The quiet certainty. It was the voice of someone who had already decided what would happen. Suddenly, alarms rang on the alien ship. Their scanners lit with warnings. Movement in the void. New contacts appearing on the edges of the system. The enemy. They had returned. Dozens of hostile ships emerged from the dark, their weapons glowing, their engines screaming. They came hungry for blood, ready to finish what they had started. The alien crew screamed in panic. They found us. We're finished. But the commander only stared at the human armada. The Deathworlders did not panic. They did not flee. They did not hesitate. The human ships shifted formation instantly, weapons powering, engines roaring. Like a pack of wolves, they turned as one, their cannons locking on the new threat. And in that moment, the alien survivors understood. The plea had been heard. Humanity had answered. Not with words. Not with pity. But with war. The enemy fleet poured into the system like a swarm of locusts. Their ships burned with crimson light, jagged and cruel, forged only for slaughter. They came without hesitation, sensing weakness, hungry for the final kill. The alien survivors trembled. Their last defenses were gone, their weapons destroyed. They were helpless, sitting inside a broken vessel. Against even one enemy ship, they would not survive. Against dozens, there was no hope. But the humans were already moving. The Armada shifted formation in perfect silence. Every ship adjusted by a fraction, aligning into a wall of steel. Fighters launched from hangars like flocks of black birds, filling the void with thousands of tiny engines. Massive dreadnoughts pushed forward, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The alien commander gripped his console. His breath caught in his throat. Never had he seen such unity, such discipline. These were not rescuers. These were predators, sharpened by survival. Then the first human ship fired. A single lance of white fire cut through the darkness. It struck an enemy cruiser, tearing it in half before its shields could even react. The wreckage spun apart, burning in silence. The battle had begun. The enemy answered with fury. Beams and missiles filled the void, racing toward the human line. But the Deathworlders did not falter. Their shields flared, their armor held, their formation stayed strong. They absorbed the storm and answered with devastation. Railguns thundered. Kinetic rounds, massive as mountains, screamed through space at impossible speed. They punched through enemy ships like paper, tearing holes that split vessels apart. Plasma batteries spat rivers of fire, melting cruisers into slag. Torpedoes streaked through the dark, each one guided by ruthless precision, striking deep into enemy command ships. The Armada did not fight with chaos. It fought with purpose. Each move was calculated, every shot chosen. Where one human ship struck, 3 more followed, ensuring nothing survived. The alien survivors watched in awe and terror. The enemies who had slaughtered their people for years, the ones who burned worlds and shattered fleets, were being torn apart in minutes. This is impossible," whispered one officer. "No one can fight like this. No one." But the commander knew. He saw the truth in every movement. Humanity had been forged on a world of storms, fire, and monsters. They had been forced to master survival against nature itself before they ever touched the stars. Against them, the galaxy's predators were nothing but prey. Enemy ships tried to retreat. The humans did not allow it. Fighters swarmed like hornets, cutting down stragglers. Dreadnoughts fired broadside after broadside, leaving nothing but wreckage. One enemy battleship, massive and scarred, attempted a desperate charge. Its cannons burned, its engines flared. It pushed straight toward the alien survivors, intending to take them down with its final breath. The alien crew screamed in panic. They had no defenses left. But before the battleship could fire, a human fortress ship moved. It slid into position between the survivors and the threat. Its shields flared bright blue as it absorbed the enemy's full barrage. The alien commander stared, stunned. They shielded us. The fortress ship's response was merciless. It unleashed a storm of railgun fire so powerful the enemy battleship split apart in 3 strikes. Explosions ripped through its hull, scattering burning fragments into the void. The threat was gone. The alien crew fell silent. This was salvation. But it was not gentle, not kind. It was brutal, merciless, absolute. Minutes later, the battle was finished. The enemy fleet was gone, erased, shattered, nothing left but drifting wreckage. The void grew quiet again. The human armada did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They simply moved back into formation, scanning the darkness for more threats. Their discipline did not break, their silence did not end. Finally, the comms crackled. The same deep, calm human voice spoke. You asked for salvation. This is how humanity saves. The alien commander felt his chest tighten. The words were heavy, carved from stone. There was no warmth in them, no kindness. Yet, they carried a promise kept in fire and blood. He bowed his head. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to breathe. His people still lived. Not because of mercy. Not because of pity. But because the Deathworlders had chosen to fight. Around him, his crew whispered in awe and fear. Some wept, unable to understand the monsters who had shielded them. Others stared silently at the human ships, their hearts torn between gratitude and dread. The commander whispered to himself, almost too quiet to hear. Saviors, or executioners. I cannot tell the difference. But it no longer mattered. For in the void, surrounded by wreckage and silence, the truth was clear. The plea had been answered. Humanity had brought salvation. And it had come wrapped in ruthless fire. The void was silent again. The wreckage of enemy fleets floated like frozen ghosts, their twisted hulls drifting slowly in the emptiness. Smoke and sparks from destroyed ships lingered, painting the darkness with faint, dying light. The alien survivors could hardly believe their eyes. The battle had ended. Their people were alive. Against impossible odds, the humans, the Deathworlders, had fought and won. Yet, the victory felt strange. The alien commander stood on the bridge, staring at the endless sea of stars and wreckage. He remembered the cries for help, the desperation that had driven them to send the signal. And now, seeing the humans leave the battlefield in perfect formation, calm and silent, he realized the truth. These were not saviors as they had imagined. Not gentle protectors. Not heroes wrapped in hope. They were monsters. Powerful, unyielding, terrifying monsters who had chosen to spare them, not because they felt pity, but because they saw the survivors as weak, fragile, and worth preserving for reasons only they understood. One officer spoke quietly. Do they care that we live? The commander shook his head. I don't think they ever cared. They do what they do. They fight. They destroy. And sometimes, they let others survive. Outside the viewport, the human armada began its slow retreat. The massive ships, their weapons still ready, glided away into the darkness. Fighters swarmed back to carriers, engines humming quietly. No words. No farewell. No promise to return. Only movement, smooth and disciplined, like a storm leaving the shore. The aliens whispered among themselves, some in awe, others in fear. They had seen the full power of humanity, the precision, the ruthlessness, the cold logic that drove every decision. They had witnessed worlds burn and enemies crumble, and yet they were alive. For a moment, the survivors allowed themselves to hope. Their civilization might be rebuilt. Perhaps, one day they could recover. But deep down, none of them could shake the image of the humans' warships. Dark, massive, unstoppable. They had been saved by monsters. Monsters who would not hesitate to destroy them if they ever became a threat. The commander finally spoke. They leave us alive, and that is their mercy. No one argued. As the human fleet disappeared into the stars, the survivors began their slow work. They gathered what they could from the wreckage, tending to injured, repairing systems, and recording every detail of what had happened. Every sensor reading, every tactic, every weapon, everything was remembered. They had to understand what had saved them. They had to understand the monsters who had intervened. Some wondered aloud what the humans would do next. Would they move on? Would they return? Or would the universe itself quake under the weight of a species that could destroy entire fleets in minutes and leave no trace of hesitation? One young officer, barely able to speak without trembling, whispered, "Will they save anyone else like us?" The commander's eyes were cold and thoughtful. "Perhaps. Or perhaps not. That is not ours to decide. We are alive because they chose it, nothing more." The survivors floated among the ruins of the battlefield, feeling the silence settle around them like a heavy blanket. The stars above had not changed, but the galaxy beneath them had. Stories would be told of this day. Myths would grow about the Deathworlders who arrived from nowhere, destroyed enemies in minutes, and left as silently as they came. The aliens knew the truth. The galaxy might fear them, might worship them, might call them gods, but those who had survived knew the reality. Humanity was a force beyond compassion, beyond morality, beyond understanding. They were salvation, but only on humanity's terms. The alien commander closed his eyes and whispered a quiet prayer, not to gods, not to stars, not to fate. A prayer for his people, for their survival, and for the terrifying creatures who had saved them. "May we never forget this," he said. "And may the galaxy never test them in anger, for no world could survive their wrath." And with that, the survivors of the Kalan people began the long journey home. They carried with them grief, hope, and a deep, unshakable fear. The humans had left the void silent, but their presence lingered, echoing in every mind. Do not beg the Deathworlders for mercy. Do not hope for salvation without cost. For when they save, they do so without hesitation, and only in their own way. The galaxy would whisper their name in awe and terror for generations. And the Kalan people, forever changed, would remember the day humanity answered a plea, with ruthless, absolute salvation.